I'm a Southern California by birth, and I've been in Chicago the last 10 years. And one of the things I really love about Chicago is the fact that it has a coastline.
The lakefront is so unique in Chicago because it's accessible to everyone.
I've been riding the lakeshore since I was a small boy in the Boy Scouts, and we would go up and down the lakefront a couple times a year, and I still ride it today. I really love it.
Chicago's lakeshore is an oasis for us as residents, and it's a place where we can escape our day-to-day activities. We can just come and relax, find serenity, find peace. You can walk and feel just safe about coming to our lakefront. And it's our ocean.
Chicago. It's undeniably recognized as one of the most colorful and dynamic cities in the world. It's home to close to 3 million residents, and more than 46 million domestic and foreign guests visit and enjoy its diversity every year. It's known for its spirit, its sports, its architecture. It's known for so many things. But if there were one defining characteristic that everyone agrees sets Chicago apart from every other city on our planet, it would have to be Chicago's lakeshore. Magnificent, exciting, and open to the public. Hello, I'm Bill Kurtis. If you ask anyone who knows this city, you'll probably get the same response. There's no place quite like Chicago. And there is definitely nothing more emblematic that defines it than its breathtaking and public lakefront. And that's what this program is about. As beautiful as Chicago's lakefront is, there is something very important missing. Today, Chicago enjoys 26 miles of lakefront parkland, from 71st Street on the south to Hollywood Avenue on the north. But 4 miles of this shoreline, 2 on the south and 2 on the north, are not yet included in this uninterrupted chain of shoreline parks. And without these last 4 miles, Chicago's lakefront story remains an incomplete one. This is our story. The last 4 miles, a legacy to complete.
My being a resident of the Rogers Park neighborhood of Chicago, I have to brave the streets of Chicago oftentimes during rush hour, which is what it's like right now, with traffic backed up all the way up and down Sheridan and even adjoining streets to try to get back to the neighborhood where I live.
I have to go on Sheridan, and it's dangerous. You know, you might get run over, and it's kind of nice being able to just bike and not have to worry about a car hitting you.
The problem with turning inland when you're riding your bicycle or jogging is really the traffic. And Lakeshore Drive, when it turns into Hollywood and Sheridan, is extremely congested, and there are actually a lot of accidents and mishaps.
The south side of Chicago has been severely underserved all these years, and this is the jewel of what we have, this lakefront.
We want to be connected to the rest of the lake and have the activities go from one side to the other.
It's important to connect the 2 miles to the rest of the lakefront because right now there's a gap between 79th Street and 95th Street where people cannot actually access the lake right now.
Riding on the south end where I live, there are some great places and great resources, but in order to get to those, you have to travel a lot of traffic and over some areas that weren't really made for bicycling. So there's a danger factor there.
Currently, we're cut off from the rest of the lakefront, so when we go out on a bike ride, and unfortunately we can't do so as a family, because once you hit 95th Street, which is the end of Calumet Park, you have to go out into a very busy street. And you don't get back to the lakefront again until about 79th Street at Rainbow Beach.
It's really only fair, it's really only equitable that everyone be able to have as easy access as possible to the waterfront.
Friends of the Parks is a park advocacy organization that was formed in 1975 by leaders of the community of Chicago at a time when our parks were in shambles. We felt that in '06 it was our responsibility to look at the completion of the lakefront, to study it, to get citizen involvement. How would they complete the lakefront? What would they like to see there?
Friends of the Parks believed that it was very important to involve the community in the planning process. So the first step was to find people who would be willing to come and spend a day to envision the future lakefront parks, and then to participate in a design charrette where you would work with architects who would sketch these ideas.
Over the course of the design process, which took 3 years, we met with every community along Chicago's lakefront, and each community's got their own design agenda. And to listen to everyone within each community really helped us shape our design for each of those pieces of the lakefront.
We've had 3 or 4 meetings with each community group, and I can't say that we've made everybody absolutely happy, but we've come a long way.
First and foremost in our mind was the sustainability of the project and of course the implementation of that project. So we're talking about environmentally being sustainable, economically, and also sustainable for humankind.
Just how important is this initiative? Very. The fact is, it's taken us more than 100 years to get to where we are today. Thanks to our visionary and courageous predecessors, Chicago's open and accessible lakefront has become a sanctuary, filled with beaches, harbors, walkways, and bike paths. It's a haven for millions of people to come and enjoy every day. And now it's up to us to complete the job, to complete these last 4 miles.
If you're walking north, you can get all the way to Hollywood and enjoy Hollywood and Ardmore, and suddenly you run out of lakefront. The public park system was not completed up through Evanston. Right now we have high-rises in Edgewater, primarily. There are 1 or 2 little beach end parks, but primarily high-rises. The high-rises, when they were developed, interestingly, abutted the lake with concrete breakwaters to shore them up against the lake. So this plan from the community at that on the north side supported a minimalist approach to completing the lakefront park system from that Hollywood beach all the way up to Evanston, continuing with some additional beaches, a narrow expansive park, lake fill, with the continuation of the bike path or the bike trail all the way north to Evanston. On the south side, it's developed as an industrial area, which is why the city lakefront is so different on the south side.
We're at the northeast corner of Calumet Park, approximately 95th Street and the lake. If you go towards the Indiana state line, between here and the Indiana state line, that's all parkland. But if you go north from here to 79th Street is not parkland. Historically, those areas had been occupied by 2 huge steel mills which stood on either sides of the Calumet River where it empties into Lake Michigan. Now those mills are gone and the land is vacant. So there's an incredible opportunity which didn't exist 100 years ago to increase the amount of parkland to fill in some of that missing space on Chicago's lakefront and obtain that land for people in the area.
The community there said we want a lot of park. We want it to taper down to the lake. We want to get to a beach. We want to walk our dogs. We want our children to play and get into the water to go swim.
Chicago's lakefront, all of it, belongs to the public. It's a principle that has been instilled in every generation of Chicagoans. But the lack of public access to these 4 miles of lakefront disadvantages the city's northernmost and southernmost neighborhoods. And the benefits to completing these last 4 miles, well, there are many.
The benefits of the plan are extensive and numerous, and I think they range from immediate and short-term benefits, such as providing jobs for Chicagoans, to the obvious long-term benefits of reclaiming the lakefront for the public. I think it would improve options for people who do like to bike, and they wouldn't have to go in more dangerous areas to get from point A to point B. You'd have cleaner air with all the new trees and the green space. You'd protect a lot of those buildings that are right on the shore and getting battered by the waves all the time, by erosion. I just think it would make for a more dynamic shoreline and a more dynamic city.
It would complete this green belt along Chicago's lakefront park system. It will, fulfill the requirement of even the bird migratory pathway, have great habitat for fish, beaches for people, bike paths for children and adults, ball fields where none exist. All of those things have been looked at by the engineers, and they found all of that to be an appropriate use of Lake Michigan.
This last 4 miles project is important because it emphasizes the most distinctive feature of Chicago, the lakefront. We're known around the world as practically the only city that has protected its lakefront for the public in this way. This brings that idea to a culmination, and it will mean, in terms of recognition, economic development, interest around the world, it will mean a great deal economically.
I have 3 children, and I can't think of a better legacy to leave my children than an open lakefront for them and their children and generations to come.
Chicago's magnificent lakeshore. By anyone's standard, it is world-class. But without the vision and support of our citizens and our public leaders, this lakefront is not what it ultimately should be. It's not what it could be, and it's certainly not what it must be. This lakefront belongs to each and every one of us. And by working together to complete these last 4 miles, we can and will create a fun and safe Chicago shoreline for our families to enjoy today, tomorrow, and for generations to come.